Hey guys, welcome to Project Metal Music's YouTube channel with your host Elion, and we are here with the brilliant The Last Bastion. So welcome guys.
Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. So guys, could you introduce yourselves and what you do within the band?
Rob, start with you.
Okay, I'm Rob, and I play lead guitar, and I've been with Last Bastion for a couple of years now. Kev and I, in fact, with Oliver as well, we'd started up, and then we went through various different lineups, and here we are now.
Oliver, you want to go next?
Yes, I'm Oscar, and I play bass. I have been in the band a debatable number of years. I was there right at the start when we had the first practice, but I had commitments at university, so I only came on as a full member about a year ago.
Akos, want to go next?
Yeah, so my name is Akos, and maybe you can hear a slight accent, which is because I'm from Hungary originally. I have moved to the UK like 15 years ago. I lived in London for 10 years, then I moved here to the north, and I joined the Last Bastion, I think it was August, right? Last year, August or September, somewhere there. And since then, I'm just hitting the drums in the band like a maniac and try to push everything out as metal.
So that just leaves me. So I'm Kev. I am the rhythm guitarist, frontman, vocalist, singer-songwriter of The Last Bastion. So The Last Bastion was basically my brainchild, and then got Rob on board, Oscar on board, and then now Akos after a variation of different members. But yeah, my brainchild.
Cool. So guys, let's dive into some questions. As kids, what were you listening to?
We're going on me.
Go first. Yeah, Rob, go. We'll go in the same order.
Well, this is an interesting one. I actually started off with Michael Jackson, and I used to.
That explains everything, Rob.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really into Michael Jackson to start off with, and then I later got into Queen, and when I got into Queen, I just got obsessed with the guitar, really, and then it was my dad kind of steered us in the direction of the likes of Gary Moore, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, that sort of thing. And when I was about 9 or 10, we were on holiday down Scarborough, somewhere like that, and I saw a couple of album covers outside a record shop on a stand. It was from Motorhead and Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, and that was when the metal started, and I just didn't look back since, basically. So since then, it's been like progression of British heavy, new wave of British heavy metal. Got into the whole Bay Area thrash thing, you know, the usual Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, that kind of thing, and it's just haven't looked back from there.
Cool.
Yeah.
In terms of me, I grew up in a slightly different era to Rob, and we didn't have record shops around. But so my introduction was really my dad, who's been a drummer and general musician his whole life, and he would play a lot of Steely Dan, Supertramp, that kind of thing. But once I got into the heavier side, it was really from playing Guitar Hero 3 on the old PlayStation, and that introduced me to a lot of the bands that I like, and I was never very good at it, but that's what made me want to, play music.
Cool.
For me, actually, I think I was around 13 years old when I first heard Metallica, the Black Album. And from that moment, I was like, oh my God, what is this music? I mean, I've never heard metal music or any guitar music before. My parents were very kind of different style. They listen to different music. So that was the first introduction. Then from there, I just deep dived into metal. So after Metallica, I discovered bands like Slayer, Testament, Morbid Angel, and Entombed, and I really gravitated towards this death metal, the old school Swedish death metal style. And I just stuck there. I still love death metal. That's my gene. That's my favorite style of metal music. And all these great bands, like I said, Entombed, At the Gate, Bloodbath, that kind of stuff. So the heavy, this chainsaw, disgusting, old school Swedish death metal. That's my thing. Yeah.
Cool.
I suppose that leaves me then. Mine's been very varied over the course and period of time. Starting as a kid, it was Michael Jackson, ABBA, Beatles, Elvis, basically off what my parents listened to originally. Then when I started to get into about the ages of like 9, 10, 11, I started to really gravitate towards bands like Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, like more classic rock bands. And then as I hit my teens, that was it. I slid into Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer, like Arcos, Testament, like thrashy speed metal. Like was more the earlier stuff originally, and then developed into like Arcos said, Master of Puppets, Black Album, stuff like that. Rust in Peace. So I kind of developed my taste over the case of like multiple years, eventually accumulating in kind of this, but. Yeah, the slippery slope, Ray. That's entirely it. Looking at the comment there, that is exactly it. The slippery slope. It just kept going until I hit a point. But I never went probably as deep as what Arcos is in the death and black metal. But yeah, I kind of tilted it at thrash. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Cool. So, who actually got you into listening to music? Was it your parents or a sibling, or like was it a journey of self-discovery?
For me, it's a difficult one. That there's so many different elements pushing us towards music, you know. So when I got into Queen when I was a kid, there was a guy next door who was listening to Queen, and through listening to that with him, he was influencing other types of rock and stuff as well. But it was from there I just really got obsessed with the guitar and started talking about it all the time. That's all I could think about. School grades went down because I was just thinking about guitar. And but it was my dad. He really encouraged us to like take it further. So I got a paper round when I was a kid, and then saved up, and my dad helped us pick my first guitar. My dad already played a bit as well, so he taught us first couple of chords, got us started. But I'd say all the way through teens, right up until about 5 years ago when he passed away, he was just always encouraging us, you know. So I would say my dad's the one who's given us the most push and support in that area, and encouragement, definitely.
Cool. Oscar?
Yeah, very similar. My dad, very much into music, plays just about every instrument. But I mainly saw him play guitar and drums in church bands when I was growing up. So I was exposed to live music from a very young age. And I always kind of wanted to be up there and a part of it. So it was quite a natural progression, just always having instruments in the house, always messing around with them. Then at a certain point deciding, okay, let's pick a couple of these and get lessons and, drill down on that rather than just messing about with everything under the sun. So that's really where I started.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, I was like around 9 years old when I started playing piano. But my parents didn't even know that I started, because at the school, at primary school, there was some kind of, an after-school activity that you can volunteer and stay over after school and just, have some lessons. So they didn't even know that I join to play piano. The only reason they knew because I was slacking off, and the teacher called my parents. Where was I? So that, and I played quite a long time, quite a few years, piano, and then I know it's not so metal, but I played flute for a while, and then when I discovered Metallica and I saw a video clip, I think it was song one, and when I saw Lars playing that beautiful drum kit, this black and white iconic Metallica kit, I was like, that's the shit I want to do for the rest of my life. So I just bought this very old, very ugly, like a snot green kind of drum kit from a bloke next door, and this is how I started. With my friends, started playing music, and since the drum, I from time to time I play guitars, but just kind of, I don't know, hobby. But drum is what really comes from inside.
Cool.
Well, me, my influence originally was my granddad. He was playing Shadows. He was a guitarist. So he was in a Shadows cover band back in the day, like Hank Marvin, stuff like that. But I didn't really know him that well because he died when I was quite young in the grand scheme of things. I think I was only about 6 when he died. So I never really got the influence from him as per se, but the initial seed was planted then. And then, as you mentioned before, El, it was just a case of a journey of self-discovery into music, just deep dive, just start at one point and then just transitioned all the way through. So I've never really had like an influence as per se, bar my granddad, but past that, it's just been self-discovery for me.
Cool. We've got a question from Rhea Snakespeare. She asks, I will offer my usual question, naughty me. Do any of you like any classical music? If so, what?
I can say 100% I actually quite enjoy classical music. I cannot tell you any specific like names of pieces really, like but if you put classical music on, I will sit and listen for hours. I really quite like classical. It inspires me quite a bit.
Yeah.
Anyone
Yeah,
else?
All
sorry.
right.
Go.
Carry on.
Okay, so classical music, yeah, it's a thumbs up. I really like Antonio Vivaldi's, especially the violin. I just love the violin sound. It's just so beautiful, and the Fourth Season is just, I think, the greatest masterpiece ever.
Yeah. Cool. So for me, growing up, when I started playing guitar, I saw a movie called Crossroads that had a section at the end with the guy that played the Karate Kid and Steve Vai. And I think for Ralph Macchio, the young boy in that was doing the guitar duo with Steve Vai, he played something that was based, I think it was based on Paganini's 24th Caprice. So from there, I kind of really got interested a little bit in some of the violin type of playing, but on guitar. So therefore, I didn't really go down the route of classical music per se, but I got into a lot of players who were interested in classical music, like Yngwie Malmsteen being the main one. But definitely, I think there's some kind of classical roots there, but just a little bit.
Cool. Oscar?
For me, my granddad has been an organ player for his whole life, so he played a lot of classical music, really into that stuff. I mean, the music that really stuck with me was The Planet Suite by Holst, Jupiter especially, Mars arguably the first heavy metal song. That's up for debate. It certainly inspired the first heavy metal song. The first intro riff to Mars became the first Black Sabbath song. And then my dad got me into Ludovico Einaudi, the Italian guy. Love him.
That piano player, sorry, but I just love him. Love him hugely.
He's
I
great.
didn't know you like it.
Yeah,
But
no,
I
he's
love him.
amazing. So that would be, my area of classical.
Good choices there. Good choices. Thank you very for that. So, guys, out of all the bands, pieces of music you've listened to over the years, who influenced you to say, I want to pick up your respective instruments and say, I want to become a musician?
Rob, you first.
Yeah, Brian May for a starter. There's so many. Brian May was definitely the first guy who got me interested in guitar. Then I'll have to say Clapton, Gary Moore, but I really love Slash's style as well. You know, I'm a massive Slash fan. I love that raucous blues rock thing that he's got going on. The way that I know he has a lot of set written solos, but live, he just goes off on one with his improvisation. I think that's great. I'd pretty much just a combination of those guys as well. Joe Satriani as well. I think he was a massive, massive influence, certainly when it got into the theory side of things as well. Steve Vai, Eric Johnson, even. He's another big favourite of mine who did Cliffs of Dover. But yeah, there's just too many to mention, really.
Oscar?
Yeah, so picking up what Rob said, Eric Johnson was probably my biggest influence into getting into my first instrument, which was guitar. Again, going back to Guitar Hero 3, playing Cliffs of Dover, hearing that and just thinking, wow, I just want to be able to play like that. And maybe one day I will. But yeah, that's what really kind of set it off in my mind. And I would go to school just imagining myself on a stage while I was in the bus, playing that song.
Well, for me, huge influence. Well, it maybe sounds strange, but I don't really, I didn't really look up people like, oh, this is my huge influence on my play or something. I think I just picked a lot of things from different people. Obviously, Lars Ulrich has to be mentioned because that was my gateway drug to drumming in Metallica. But weirdly enough, if I have to give a name, it would be Giorgio Mayer. And he is not a metal drummer. He is kind of extremely weird person. Just look it up on the internet, Giorgio Mayer. His drumming is just out of this world. He plays kind of electronic music, but on an acoustic kit, and it sounds like electronic drum. It's mind blowing. It's like an octopus. It's crazy. So he's a huge influence because he can do so many things with one kick drum and one snare and the hi-hat that other people like in the metal bands they need a massive drum kit. So this kind of minimalistic view how he plays and what kind of tools he uses, and it's like 120% usage of those minimalistic drum kits. It's just mind-blowing for me. So yeah, Giorgio Mayer is a huge influence up to this day.
Cool. Yeah.
For me, looking back, I think the first musician that really kind of stood out for me was probably Richie Sambora of Bon Jovi. Something about some of the solos, just that iconic hook. Just it doesn't sometimes have to even be complex. It's just great. I mean, even still to this day, I'll still put Richie Sambora as one of my favorite guitarists for what he did. But obviously, as I developed, I would definitely say that my influences are definitely worn on my sleeve. James Hetfield and Dave Mustaine. I am a combination cross between both. In terms of style, just what I like. There's influences of Maiden in there, so For me, I was always more of a fan of Adrian, more the blues style. I know Rob's more of a fan of Dave Murray. But yeah, for me, it is literally a combination of that. And then you've got showmanship from the likes of Dio, from the likes of Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden. I mean, in terms of a front man of a band, and I know he's just, you say just a singer, he's not just a singer, he's Bruce Dickinson. But just that kind of mentality and energy, like if I could replicate that and mold it into what I want it to be for me, I think that would say those are my greatest influences in terms of outside onto my style. But yeah,
Cool.
that's me.
Yeah. So, guys, were you in any bands before you started the Last Bastion?
I'll go first on this one because me and Oscar were in a band. We were in a more of a thrash band called Wrath and Redemption. So back in our slightly younger days, we were in the thrash band. So that's where we come from. So I'll throw it across to Rob and Akos now and let them answer.
Yeah, I've been in a blues rock band for a few years. Started off under the name Rattlebone, but then changed to Hokum Bokum. So I was really just messing about that for a while. We did a few gigs here and there, but it didn't really go anywhere. And before that, I played in Queen tributes and then just various blues rock bands here and there, you know. But I've mainly been concentrating on teaching guitar for, you know, quite a few years now. So between that and other jobs I've been doing, you know, that's more what I've been concentrating on. You know.
Cool. Of course.
So here in the UK, before I joined to the Bastion, I played in the band called Usurper. I'm not sure if they are active at the moment because we kind of split up, and this is how I found the guys. One of the members from Usurper, Ian Fisher, I have to mention his name, and thank you, Ian. So he dropped on Facebook kind of a link that, you know, Bastion is looking for a drummer, and I was like, oh, okay, let's try it. So beforehand, I was playing in a Usurper in the UK, but obviously in Hungary, I played in quite a few bands. I worked for a few years as a session drummer for studios. So I played for a few albums, a few projects. But here in the UK, it's just Usurper.
Cool. Yeah. So, guys, what has the band been up to, especially over the last 12 months or so?
I'll take that. So there was a bit of a hiatus where we had a bit of lull in members for different reasons. Members left the band. So as we've mentioned a couple of times already, Oscar joined the band, and then we were on the hunt for a drummer, and Akos joined the band. So that was probably closer at the end of August last year. So I'm going to take that as the time frame for Bastion because I think that makes the most sense. Since then, what we've actually done is we've kind of rebranded. So we've developed some of our social media. We've been writing new music. We've been rehearsing some of the old stuff. And we're in the process of, if you look on Spotify, we have something called the home recordings sessions of The Last Bastion. Now, that was something that me and Rob put together in the past. And since Akos and Oscar joined the band, we've been looking to basically redo that in a more professional manner while adding in a couple of new tracks along the way. So that is what we've been kind of focusing on, is finishing up this new album that we're going to be releasing hopefully sometime in the next couple of months, I hope. And then we've also now been sticking our feelers out and getting our name back into the scene to start playing more gigs up and down the country. So as I've already, as we mentioned earlier on, just before we went live, we're playing Sheffield, we're playing Manchester, so Stockport, playing Newcastle, and we're just looking in general just to play up and down the country, really. So, I mean, if the lads have got anything else to add to that, I don't think I've missed anything.
No.
Well, I think you've nailed it.
So that's
Yep.
basically what we've been up to, condensed in the past 12 months.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. So you mentioned that you've writing some new material to expand out your home recordings, sort of like sessions. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that was a kind of a point, like a low point, like I said, when we were looking for new members. So a lot of the stuff on the home recordings was made with the mind of the old members in the band. So on the back of that, I also decided to carry on writing during the time because I didn't see the point in stagnating and just stopping completely. So I ended up writing a couple of more tracks, to which both Akos and Oscar have now kind of put their own stamp on. There's a couple of singles coming out. We've played one live a couple of times, so there's a little bit of a spoiler. The song's called Medusa. But we have a few more songs that we're trying to work on. And again, not to try and give a little bit away, as far as I'm concerned, we have the album's material for this complete, and I have been working on in the background a whole bunch of other songs, with some potential changes as well in terms of the way we've actually done things in the past, just to try and give a new take on things. So I think I've approximately maybe got 4 or 5 new songs for a potential album after the one we're going to release. So in the meantime, we'll be working and changing the way we do things as well. Because in the past, I've been the main songwriter for the band, but going forward, I would like, as we've discussed as a band, to try and implement and encourage more collaboration amongst the members. So it's not just on me.
Cool. Cool.
But yeah.
You mentioned that you're going to be releasing a couple of singles. Have you picked one in particular to be your lead single?
Yes, we have. It's actually a song that we now use as the first track normally when we play live, and it's aptly named "Who We Are." So
Cool.
hopefully that gives gives people a really good idea of what we actually sound like and what we're going for and what our aims and goals and beliefs are. We have just recently recorded a video for that, so hopefully that will be getting released as a single, as a video release as well. So hopefully you can look forward to that in the coming weeks.
Have you got a firm date for the release of the new single?
You will have to ask Oscar. He's in the process of doing the video editing for that right now, so it's whenever Oscar decides he can get it done.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So, have you have you got any plans on creating any merchandise for the new album, or with with the single and album?
We currently have sorry. We currently have some standard merchandise t-shirts. But in terms of developing merchandise, it's definitely something we're going to look into. For each single, we have some artistic designs for each the 3 singles that are coming to mind and the album itself when we release it. So I would like to think that we are going to produce some merchandise around those in the near future. So yeah, as we start to release things, hopefully we can get some of that merchandise on a roll.
Cool. Now, we've got a question before we go back into. We've got sort of like a question from Ria. She asks, guys, is there an instrument that you would like to learn to play?
Ooh.
Yes.
Go on, Rob.
I'd love to learn to play tenor sax. Yeah, because I like listening to a lot of old school jazz, and there was an album that I really liked called A Kind of Blue, and I think there was a song called, I think it was So What. I might be wrong. I think it was called Train, playing a solo on that, and it was absolutely stunning. So yeah, so definitely tenor sax for me.
Agos, you got one?
Maybe drums. That would be useful.
More drums, even more drums.
Other than that, I think harp. It has this very, atmospheric, eerie vibe that's really catchy. But it's a very difficult instrument, so I don't think so. I ever going to get close to harp, but that would be cool.
For me, I don't know. I've played piano in the past. I've also played trumpet in the past. Guitar. I tried my hands at drums. I sing. I think it would probably, if that was the case, it would probably end up being like a woodwind classification, so something like a flute. And that sounds really strange, but yeah, I think it would probably be something along the lines of a flute, just to add a different dimension to potentially experiment in the future. I see that Oliver must have tripped. He's electric, so
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, you could sort of like, because I've been listening to like a lot of I've been listening to a lot of like rock and metal over the years. I would say thinking, I know there's like a lot of symphonic bands out there who, and there's also I've also been listening to, there's been like saxophones being added to rock and metal songs, flutes and harps have been added to different songs and stuff like that. It's a possibility that you add another dimension to the Last Bastion.
You know
With all
what?
the
I'm going to quickly change my mind because I've just thought of the most greatest, obnoxious, but brilliant sound. Bagpipes. I want to go full AC/DC and just go full bagpipes in a song.
yeah,
Yes.
Well,
nice.
I'm gonna quit. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah. Yeah, they have. Ray just said the flutes have been used in prog rock,
Yeah.
which they have done. I know there's a lot of folk metal and folk rock have been using a lot of flute and
No,
and some harp as well.
there is this band. It's called Korpiklani. It's from Finland, and they have this very folky Finnish folk music based metal, and they use a lot of pipes and flutes and stuff. It's a really catchy music actually. Korpiklani. I really liked it when I was younger.
Yeah, good band there. Good band. Good band. Right, we've got another question from from moderator, Ocean. Hello, Ozzy. How you doing? She asks, which is going to be coming up. This is one of the questions why I'm asking it now. Are you planning on doing a full-blown tour?
I hope.
I was literally about to answer that with exactly what Akos says. So you see, it's always funny, right? And this might be a bit of a controversial statement. I see a lot of bands putting tour into their things when they've got like a number of dates. And like to me, like I said, I could reel off that we've got maybe 4 or 5 dates coming up, and one could say that's potentially a tour. But in terms of what you said, El, and obviously Aussie, in terms of a full-blown tour, would absolutely love to. I would, even if we're supporting a bigger band and we just go along with them on tour, absolutely would love to tour. That's an open invitation to anybody who's listening to this. If there's any bands out there that's looking for a hard rock, heavy metal band, yeah, we're definitely game. We're more than happy to jump on dates and do a tour.
Yeah, expanding on that, if you do get the opportunity to do a full-blown tour, would you go over to do the full tour of the UK, or would you go into Europe, or down in Australia, or over to North America, South America?
All of the above. Obviously within the remit of financial and visas and things like that. Getting, if all of that wasn't an issue, I would do it all. I would travel everywhere. I would do, and Akos will agree. Yeah, I would do the Metallica. I would try and play on every single continent that we could, every single show, every single place, because that's what I want to do. And I'm sure Rob and Akos and even Oscar will all agree on that one. That's what we want to achieve. So yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so anybody out there who's got some influence, here's your band.
Get in touch.
Thank you, Ozzy, for that. So, getting back to like some of the merchandise, obviously it's all about finance. I normally ask this question, and my audience will turn around and say, "Oh, El, you haven't asked this question before. You haven't asked this question. Would you put your music onto vinyl?"
Absolutely. If it's one thing I could turn around and say, if the finances allowed, vinyl would definitely be it. There's just something about vinyl, as in not just the vinyl itself, but the packaging and the extras you can put in, the imagery, the album. Like, I've got a whole bunch, like classic albums, like Ride the Lightning by Metallica. You know, like I've got the vinyls. I mean, Rob probably grew up on them. Akos probably grew up on them. Like, I know I'm in the younger generation, but I love them. I would absolutely love to have a collection of vinyl. Definitely something I would love to do.
Cool.
Yeah, to be honest, the vinyl has a certain vibe. You know, when you can touch the artwork, and it's not just a small CD or something. It just, as you pull it out, and it's a nice, booklet inside. It's so much potential, to express your art beyond music. So you can create some amazing artwork that also catches the audience, and then just pulls into the immersion when you listen to the music. I remember I was flipping through the booklet and listening to the music. It's kind of a whole package.
Yeah.
It's obviously the streaming these days just robbed the younger generation, because they don't have this experience. When you really can immerse yourself, you sit down and you dedicate 1 hour or 2 hours for that album, and you listen through, not skipping songs after 10 seconds. I know it sounds old school and stuff, but this is how music's supposed to listen to, in my opinion.
It was even the experience of back in the day when you knew there was a new album coming out and you were waiting for it.
Yeah, there was a big talk about it. Everybody was so excited rushing to the music store. And
you'd see it advertised everywhere. Then you go to the store, and then you get in there and you're just so excited. I feel that now that excitement is lost a bit. Now everything's digital. Because I remember driving into Dundee, into the music shops, and I'd meet all my friends, social thing as well, and then while you were buying the album you were waiting for, you'd discover a few more in the process as well, and it was just, I don't know, it was a better time for me,
and so just the other thing is that, even the albums, they were released, like, it took like 2-3 years to a band to drop an album. It's not like, every 2-3 months there is a single coming out, there is an EP coming out with 3-5 songs. It's like they took the time to really create something meaningful, right? Because you need time to create, because if you rush things through, the end result is going to be rushed, right? So, and also I don't know, it just feels different, and as because they really took the time and the craftsmanship, because in these days it's easy to create a song or an album even in your home studio. You don't need to go to a big full-fledged studio and record there. You can do everything home, and that kind of speeds up things. And when you speed up things, you even just have a rough idea, you record it and put it out on Spotify or whatever. It just reduces the quality of music in general, in my opinion, because people don't take time to write proper songs anymore. And the other thing is, they don't even go to rehearse to the band, because if a band rehearsed, and like as we do, we every week go there for 3-4 hours on a Sunday, and we just hammering the songs until it's perfect. And when you go on stage, you can feel and see that these guys are really put together well, not just 4 strangers just walking around on the stage. I'm sorry, I went a bit further away. I'm a bit passionate about music. Maybe you can tell.
No, I think I agree with you, Axel, to be fair. Like, I was just going to say it's just part of the experience, when we're talking about it. Like, when you're talking about physical copies and that effort, like, even it comes down to even the basic necessity, like, touching on that subject of now bands just release a single. They just release a 3-song EP, and it's like, right, well done, you're going to churn it out every month. Whereas back in the day, when you bought that record, even a CD, even the physical copy of something, you would take the time and listen to every single song on that album. You wouldn't just go, oh, I'm just going to listen to the top 2 tracks on that band, and that's it. You would listen and you would discover nuggets.
Yeah.
Like, for example, let's take Metallica. You listen to Master of the Puppets and you listen to the first 2 songs on that album. You got Battery, epic, and then you got another song, but you wouldn't. Half of that album you wouldn't have even discovered. Half of those great songs that made Metallica, you wouldn't hear.
Yeah.
It's like, so why have we decided as a community that it's acceptable now to listen to one track by a band and go, right, that's enough? It's like, to delve deeper into it, and that's where that should be.
Yeah. There's kids I'm teaching guitar to now that they're unaware that whole albums exist. It's like you say to them, "What's your favorite band?" and they might say Green Day or whatever, and I'm like, "Oh, what albums do you like?" And they look at me like, "Album?" I'm like, "Yeah. What albums do you like?" Like, "Well, I've got a few songs on my Spotify playlist," and I'm like, "Oh, but the whole album, dude." It's like people just, I don't know. It just feels like albums are non-existent.
Yeah, I think with the albums now, I've noticed over the last 4 or 5 years that some of the younger generation is just like, what's that? What's this? What's this?
Yeah.
And it's just it's like it's something mysterious, and it's just, what do you do with it, type of thing.
It just reminds me of the tape cassettes. It's like, what's this? It's like, it's a cassette tape.
Yeah.
Pull the tape out.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, literally getting a pencil and spooling the cassettes onto
Yeah.
That's how old I am. I can just barely remember the 8-track. So yeah, people. Yes, some of these young ones you just have been totally messed up with digital music.
I'd agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So
don't take me wrong on this. I mean, I think streaming in general is a good idea because you can distribute your art to even more people.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think it's overused, and not just used, it's abused now. Like, especially, there's so many financial things going on with this, creating an album, because, big labels, they just don't want to give the money to the artists to develop and finance them to create an album. Just they want to squeeze them out as quick as possible, release a single, release an EP with 3 songs, then throw it away, get the next big thing, we sponsor you, squeeze you out, throw you away. So basically just like milking people. Literally, the artists are so used, and Spotify is just adding to this, and I think it's a huge issue.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of musicians, bands, are going basically saying, screw you to the big labels and going independent.
Yeah, because that's the new way. If you want to achieve something, you have to do it yourself.
Yeah, because I've noticed that over the last since about 1998. Really, when some of these big bands and basically saying, screw you, and get the fans to crowdfund the next album. So, because the first band I really started to notice was Marillion. I don't know if you know the band Marillion.
No.
They were pretty big in the 80s and 90s with the songs as Kaylee, Garden Party, Sugar Mice, stuff like that, songs like that, back in, with Fish as the original lead singer, and then Steve Hogarth after, well, basically after the band chucked Fish out after a drunken after a drunken binge, after pinning Steve Rothery, the guitarist, up against the wall and threatening him. So they got chucked him out and said Steve Hogarth came in 1988. So yeah. So anyway, right. So where can people find you on social media?
We have quite a few socials, actually. The main ones that we normally update are Facebook and Instagram. Well, if you look at we're more old souls, you know, we're not on Snapchat, TikTok, and all of the newer platforms. We're very simple. YouTube, and although we've just hopped on about it, Spotify, because you can't. It's that trade-off. Like, back on the soapbox for a second, you can't afford not to have your stuff on Spotify, because people will ask, why isn't your stuff on Spotify? So yeah, between Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube, that's where you can find us.
Cool. I've posted your link to the live shows in the chat there. For if you're in the area of Manchester, Sheffield, and Newcastle, you can follow the stuff. You can go and see them.
We update that regularly, by the way, so that is not a static thing. We update that as we go.
Yeah. If you've got any more questions, guys, please let us know, put them in the chat there, and we'll ask them. Ask the questions. So this is probably going to be sort of like my last question. Any advice for people who want to become a musician?
Ooh, I actually do. So I'm going to let Rob and Akos go first and see if they cover any of my points. But yeah.
Well, I would say the first bit of advice is pay for tuition. If I'm not just saying that because I'm a guitar teacher, but I would say, you know, from a lot of people that I've taught, some of those have struggled for years by themselves, you know, and I think when they've been left up to their own devices, you know, trying to get bits of information off YouTube or from the odd book here and there, it's very difficult in the early process, you know. So like if you've got someone to show you how, in fact, you don't even need to pay for tuition. You could get someone, you know, who already plays, you know, just to sit down with you. But, you know, get someone to take you through, you know, like to play with you and then get used to playing with other people. I think that's the best thing you can do, is to start playing with other people as well, and just build on it from there, you know.
Akos,
Yeah,
you got anything to say?
yeah. If you start playing music, just don't give up. Just keep practicing. Just push it, and never listen to other people, and don't compare yourself to someone else. Just stay focused on your craft. It doesn't matter whatever people say. Just go after what drives you. That's it. Just listen to your passion. Ignore everybody else, and just prove them wrong at the end, that you can achieve everything. It's singing, playing an instrument, doesn't matter, writing music, whatever. Just do it. And the other thing is that Rob already touched upon, that play with other people. In this day and age, so many talented, extremely talented guys, but I can see them on YouTube in videos. They're playing crazy stuff. But the problem is they're just sitting in the room in front of a audio interface plugged into a DAW and just recording themselves, instead of going out, forming a band and having the full experience, to playing with other people, bouncing ideas out and back and forth, you know, just inspiring each other. That's the reason why people wants to form a band, to to go out and play with other people together. It's such a great experience. And if you stay in your bedroom and playing in front of a computer through an amp sim, it's not going to be anywhere close to that. So never give up and find somebody to play with. Yeah, that's it.
Oscar, you got something for it?
Yes. Could I be reminded of the question?
Any advice for people who want to become a musician?
Yes, I imagine you've probably covered most of it, but it's getting over the first hurdle of when you start, you're going to be bad for quite a while, and that's okay. And then you'll feel like it's starting to open up and things are getting easier, and you're like, okay, I'm actually really good at this. And then it's the second hurdle that I think is the hardest to get over, when you realize just how much you don't know, and realize, wow, okay, now I know enough about this to know that I'm still bad again, but I can become good. So it's really that second hurdle, I think, is the hardest to get past, and a lot of people just taper off there.
Right. I'm gonna get up on my soapbox here. I have some points. So if you're planning on being a musician in today's era, my number one piece of advice, number one, is start. Right? And that sounds really, really simple to say, but some people go back and forward for so long thinking, I can't possibly play guitar. I can't possibly sing. I can't possibly play violin. I can't possibly play the flute. If you never ever try, you'll never ever know. So start number one, just start. Start. Bringing on to Oscar's point number two, I completely agree. I think Akos and Rob both said it as well. You're gonna start. You're not gonna come out the gate if you're playing guitar, and you're not gonna be Yngwie Malmsteen. You know what I mean? You're just not. The length of time it takes for certain people to get to a level where you think you should be is ridiculous. I mean, you talk about some people who've been playing their whole entire lives against you who've just picked up the guitar 2 weeks ago. Big difference. You know, like, and again, I think it's a very the third point, and I normally take this very. It took me many years to understand this as well. It is very much whichever lane you are in, your experience in your area, in your genre, in your ideologies is really gonna affect what you should be aiming for in terms of what you're doing. Like, a technical jazz player is not going to be at the same standard as a neoclassical player. Like, the distinction between genres is huge. I'm not saying you can't play. I'm just saying know where you want to focus and do that. Exactly what Akos said before. Set your goal, set your mind, and then go. Like, those are the three main. Start, understand your ego, check it at the door, and then understand what you're actually trying to achieve. That's it. That's just being a musician. That's how it goes. Don't let people tell you otherwise.
Cool. Sound advice there from all of you. Sound advice. Thank you so much for that. We've got a question from Ria. This is probably going to be the last question. Guys, is there a song that you would like so much that you wish you had written? For the so yeah. What's your what song? What song is your what's your favorite song? And would you should you? I can't speak today. I'm getting tired. So, what's your favorite song? And did you wish you would have written it?
It's a tough one, isn't it?
You got one, Rob.
Well, I wish that if there was any song I could have written, definitely Cliffs of Dover by Eric Johnson, because I've tried to analyze that song, and I just don't know how anyone can write that. It's just mental. But as well as him being a great guitar player, it's just the way that he wrote the parts, the tones that's in that song, to me, you know, it's, although I've learned to play the song before, I can't pull it off like Eric Johnson, and I just think he's got this touch to it, and I would love to have been able to write that or something like it. But yeah.
Oscar.
It's a fairly unknown song, Jules by Seth Chapler, a guitar instrumental piece, and it's not massively complicated. I think it's pretty much just 3 chords throughout the entire thing, maybe an extra 1 or 2 during the bridge. It's, you know, it just the way it builds up and the emotion you can get out of such a, you know, really simple instrumental song. I really wish I'd been able to do something like that.
Oh, well, for me, actually, it's not a song, it's 2 albums. I wish I could have. And they are completely different in genre. The first, I'm not sure anybody knows this band. It's called Tiamat, and they were kind of big in the 90s. And they have an album called Wild Honey. The Tiamat Wild Honey. From the very first second until the very last. Basically, it's one song. To be honest, the whole album was created like this. There is no breaks in it. It just goes on forever without any breaks. And it's just crazy good. Guys, listen to it, please. Tiamat Wild Honey. You're welcome. And the second is Fear Factory, Demanufacture, the whole album. Again.
Yes.
Mind fuck. It's like 30 years old album, and still every single day, there's no day I wouldn't listen to at least one song from that album. It's just so good. When it came out, I couldn't believe that it's possible, humanly possible, to play something like that. It was mind-blowing. So those 2 albums for me, yeah.
I'd agree with the Anti-Manufacture, yeah.
Yeah, 2 good choices there.
I'm kind of stuck. I'm really kind of stuck. I mean, I've got to say it because it was just so influential on me. Like, just Rust in Peace, the album Rust in Peace. I don't know what Dave Mustaine was sniffing and snorting that day, but Jesus Christ, the songs, the development of that album is insane. You know, like, just, it's so much flavor in it. It's just like that. That's it for me. But saying that, would I have wished I had written it? Oh, I don't know, because it wouldn't implement. If I had wrote it, how would it have influenced me now? That's my thought process on it. I mean, if I have had the chance, yes, I would have loved to have wrote that album, yes. But in essence, I don't think I would ever turn around and say I wish I wrote that, because as a songwriter, me personally, I get enjoyment from writing things from influences. Like, that's it for me. So
yeah, cool. Thank you for the answers, and thank you, Ray, for asking the question. So, guys, we are going to be wrapping things up. So, any final words before we shut it down?
Yeah, actually, I've got a really, again, corny one that most bands say, but now more than ever, support local music, the local community as well. I'm not just talking about Last Bastion here. I'm talking about the scene in general, the metal community, the rock and metal community. Support the venues, support the bands. I mean, yes, support Last Bastion. Thanks. But I think as a community, we need to come back now more than ever. I know everybody's sick of hearing about COVID and stuff, but we're still on the back end of the bounce back from that. There are still a lot of venues trying to crowdfund and get things together. So if possible, get out, support your local scene, support your local bands, and just, do the best you can. I'm not saying go drop 600 quid on an Ozzy Osbourne ticket, by the way. How many local gigs you could go to for that one ticket? Cough, cough. Just saying, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it from me,
though. Yeah. I totally agree with you, because this is one of the reasons why I set up Project Metal Music, is to help bands like yourselves to get noticed. And every time, if I can afford to go out and support the local the local scene, I'll go out and support the local scene. So yeah. So yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out already, check out. If you haven't checked Last Bastion out, I'll put the links down in the description there. So please check them out. These guys are good, really good, and I mean so good. I'm trying and get up to see them in April. Is it April 9th at the
April 9th.
Trillions?
Yeah.
Yes, April 9th.
In Trillions. So yeah, Ray said, "Get out, but not every night. The YouTubers need support too." Right, Al? Yeah.
Agree. You are still part of this community. El's part of this metal and rock community. So that's it across the board. Support the community.
Yeah, support wherever you can, whether it just be sharing links out, like I've just did with Last Bastion says geek list up the geek list. Share the say oi Last Bastion or whoever your favorite artist is. There's a link here. They've got dropped a new song or whatever. Drop a new album. Drop a new EP. Share it out.
Cool.
Yeah, that's if you haven't. Yeah, so yeah. So guys, go check them out. Check the Last Bastion out, and yeah. So guys, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a total blast. It's been a total blast.
Our pleasure.
Thank you
Thanks
very
very much for the opportunity.
That's been great.
Thank you. Really
Yeah.
like it.
So yeah, cool. Thank you again. So guys, until next time, we'll catch you all later.
Yeah. Thank you.
See ya.
Yes. Bye.
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 Bye.